This is section 1.7, which talks about constructions. So we're going to go over some vocabulary for this section, and that's pretty much it, since the majority of this is going to be done in class. So we first have to know what a construction is. A construction is where you only use a straight edge and a compass to make geometric figures. So what constitutes as a straight edge? Well, a straight edge is a ruler without markings. So any type of hardened edge constitutes as a straight edge. If you want to use rulers, it's okay, but you just can't go by the numbers. You can't be physically measuring what it is that you're drawing. And then, of course, we have a compass, which is used to draw circles. It's the tool that you put a pencil into, and it has a sharp point, and then you swivel it around, and it makes a nice circle. So in order to make a construction, you're going to need a straight edge and a compass, but that is all you can use besides a pencil. That's it. No other measuring devices. So now let's take a look at perpendicular lines. So if you look over here to the side, I have two lines that are intersecting each other, and they all happen to be intersecting each other at right angles. And we know that if we have two lines that intersect at right angles, they're called perpendicular. So I'm going to show you a little bit of notation here. So I can see that one of the lines here is named AB. So practicing what I learned earlier on, I have a line AB, and I have to put my notation above it so I know what I'm talking about. So line AB, and I'm going to write the next line that it's perpendicular to. So line CD. And if you remember from algebra, there's a particular notation for perpendicular, which is like an upside down capital T. So I'm going to put that right in between these two. And now I know that line AB is perpendicular to line CD. And I know that because these are all intersecting at right angles. All right. And now we have what's called a perpendicular bisector. So we need to know what these two words mean before we even consider what it stands for. So when I look at the word perpendicular, I first of all know that that means a right angle. So I'm looking for 90 degrees. So then what does the word bisect mean? Well, if you take a look at this word, the prefix bi means two, and sector in this case just means pieces. So what I'm going to do to whatever I'm working with is I'm going to cut it into two pieces at a right angle. So I'm going to do this in black, so I want you to look at this line segment below, and let's pretend this segment AB is my segment, and I'm going to cut it in half at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going to try to estimate where I think halfway is, which is probably right here, and I'm going to make it into a full line that makes a right angle. So I'm going to do this the best that I can, going this way, and then going this way. Now I'm doing this by hand, so it's not going to be perfect, but you should be using a straight edge when you do this. And then I am going to denote that this is a right angle. And how am I supposed to let people who are looking at this know that these two segments that I have now are cut in half? Well, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label this intersection point as C. Okay? So now that I can say something about segment AC, and then something about segment CB. And what I do know for sure is if I cut these into two equal pieces, then they should be congruent. So I'm going to write my congruency symbol here as well. But how do I show that in a picture? Well, we very simply use tick marks. So AC and CB are congruent. So I'm going to do one tick mark here and one tick mark here. And as long as those tick marks are there, you do not need to be told this information down here because it's already understood to be true. All right, one more concept to go and then we are all done. All right, so the last thing that we're going to take a look at are angle bisectors. And just like before, we're going to bisect something, so we're going to cut something into two equal pieces. So when we're doing this with an angle, we're going to have to be really careful about this. So if I look at this drawing, it looks like this is angle MNP. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. Angle MNP. P. And if I were to cut this in half, I'm going to go ahead and estimate where I think cutting it in half is going to be. So something like this. And I'm going to put another point on here so I can write something else down if I need to. So we'll label this Q. So I have now bisected angle M and P. Well, what does it mean to bisect? It means to cut into two equal pieces. So how do I show this in a picture? Well, in this case, instead of using tick marks, we're going to use what's called arc marks. So I'm going to draw an arc mark here and an arc mark here. And as long as any two angles, or several, have the same amount of arc marks, you automatically know that they are congruent. So I'm going to go ahead over here and I'm going to write my notation. So I'm going to say that angle MNQ is congruent to angle QNP. And that's all the vocabulary that we're going to do for section 1.7.